Time. Welcome, folks. We continue our journey together in the Mimer, the Hasidic discourse, Kedoshim, be holy, be great. There's two different paths in life, two basic paths in divine service, that of the penitent and that of the righteous. Well, tshuva reaches to a higher place. The nature of this world is, it's cruel. That's the nature of this world. It's cruel, right? The stronger animal eats the weaker animal, right? They say the big fish eats the small fish, right? That's the nature of the world. But the nature of God is that there is forgiveness. So the Baal Tshuva reaches beyond the nature of the world, where there can be something, where we can be forgiven for our ways. Of course, it means we have to change our ways. So we reach to a higher place for tshuva. But the tzaddik, the righteous person, brings down a greater light of God into this world through the path of the righteous. And that's why they do what's called hisavcha, transformation. The Baal Tshuva isn't transforming. Baal Tshuva is staying away from the negativity, not allowing the negativity that's within the person that once took hold of the person, that it shouldn't take hold. You are bending yourself. You are, through your strong commitment, you're not allowing any negative force within you to, once again, take control. That's what tshuva means. To do that, you need to reach to the high place. But it didn't change you. It changed your behavior, but didn't change you. You still have a desire for that food that's not kosher. You have a desire for that negative thought in your mind. You just don't allow it space. It comes up, you push it away, right? It's not that it doesn't come up. It comes up. You have to bend yourself. You have to push it away. That's called bending, in the sense that you're bending your natural character to a more divine way. So with that, you reach to a very deep place in the divine, but it didn't bring it down here and change you. So the path of the righteous is a path that is transformative. Says the Rebbe that, well, there's two different paths, but when it comes to the person, we can incorporate both in one person. That even if you're not on the level of, the righteous, you're a Beinoni or less than a Beinoni, like us, BITs, Beinoni in training. When we fulfill a mitzvah, well, a mitzvah is called tzedek. It's called tzedek. It's called righteousness. That's what a mitzvah is. Therefore, when we do a mitzvah, on some level, we are righteous, meaning transformative. Transformative. because that's the idea of a mitzvah. The whole idea of a mitzvah is the refinement of ourselves and the refinement of the world. Ourselves and our character quality, and the character, or not the character quality, if you will, but the material of this world. The material of this world is animated by klipa, by klipas noiga. If you don't find the tissues, thank you. Klipas noiga, right, which is a mixture of good and bad, and by our using money to give charity, tzedakah, thank you, to using our material, our material to do a mitzvah, right? Or helping you to do a mitzvah, like the coffee, l'chaim. So then you are refining it. And that's the ultimate purpose, is the refinement of ourselves in this world. That means making a dwelling place for God. That God is more comfortable in the material world and in us, right? When we're allowing our animal soul to control us, God's not comfortable dwelling with us. He's hidden. But when we do the mitzvah, oh, in that moment, there is a refinement that has been transformative in some manner, some degree, some level, some aspect of our being has actually been transformed. So that way, all of us incorporate the path of the righteous. Right? Doesn't mean we have we're not called righteous. We're still BITs, but we have transformed ourselves in some aspect, in some manner. Because that is the point of the mitzvah. So there is something transformative happening. Now, Rebbe takes this further and connects this with the 2 months of Nisan and Iyar. And connects it with Pesach Sheni, which was last week. Yeah. Last Wednesday. Sorry, no. Last Thursday. Yeah, it was last week. 1 second. Today is the 22nd. So it's the 14th. It's the 14th. Yes, the last Wednesday. That is in the month of Iyar. So, what's the difference between the first Passover and second Passover? First Passover, you can't have any chametz, any leaven, anything that is fermented. Right? Flour and water that's more than 18 minutes together is fermented. That's called chametz. It represents spiritually ego, haughtiness, and we need to run away from that. And that's why the Jewish people ran out of Egypt, and the dough didn't have time to rise. It wasn't just like a secondary event to the main event, which the main event was leaving Egypt. Well, the main event of leaving Egypt means leaving our Egypt, our limitation. Our limitation is that we have an ego that drives us. We have an animal soul that drives us, and we got to leave it. And when you leave it quickly. When you have your animal soul coming to you in your mind and feeding you toxic messages or feeding you negativity, what do? You run away from it quickly. Well, that's exactly what the Jews did. They ran out of Egypt quickly. Didn't allow the chametz to rise, right? Didn't allow the ego to take control. That's the first month. You know why it's the first month? Because that's the first thing that person needs to do in their lives. That's called iskafia. That's bending yourself. As you have a netiya, you have an inclination for something that's not healthy, that's not good, that's a transgression to the divine will. So you stay away from it. When it comes, you in a sense physically run, but in you've spiritually run from that negativity. Again, the negative thought comes in. How do you run away from it? Well, by pushing it away, right? By entertaining another thought and the like. Okay. The second month going out of Egypt, which is the month of Iyar, um, is transformative. How so? Because every day in the month of Iyar, we have the mitzvah of Sfiras Omer, counting the Omer. And the Omer is about every day taking the midah, the attribute of that day. Today's the 37th day of the Omer, Yom Shiva, Shloshim Yom, Sheheim, Chamisha Shavuos, Shnei Yomim L'Omer. Good thing to practice to say always by day, as we say by Shir Shel Yom, because then if you forgot it by night, at least you said it by day. So today is the attribute of Gevura Shebiyisoid. Gevura, refrain, strength, right? Strength being able to hold back. In the Yisoid, which means foundational, meaning connection. Strength of being able to hold back to maintain the connection. That's Gevura, right? So, in other words, it's a sense of being connected to God Almighty, connected to a loved one, sensing that connection. And in that connection, you could be giving. That was the day before, chesed. Or you could be making space for that person, right? Vura. Be making space for that person, right? To maintain the connection. Right. So when it's a grandchild, you could give them a big hug based on the deep-seated connection that you feel, right? That would be the day before chesed in your side, or you can make space and let them play, let them be, maintaining out of a sense of connection and being connected, but giving them their space. So that's the refinement of, today's refinement, which is transformative. That's the second month. Right. And that's why in the second month, when it comes to Pesach Sheni, you can have matzah and chametz together. Why can you have the chametz? We said chametz is ego. So ego is not a bad thing, right? If it's ego of the animal soul, it's bad. But if it's ego of your divine soul, what's ego of your divine soul? Is that I'm proud to be a Jew. I am proud. I know proud's the right word. Maybe it's the wrong word. I feel a sense um, of exaltedness in that I'm a Jew, that I'm or a chassid of the Rebbe, right? Or at least trying to be. So that's not an ego for egocentric. Real egocentric means I'm special. You're beneath me, right? You're beneath me. This is not egocentric because the fact that I'm a Jew, well, so are you. The fact that I'm a chassid of the Rebbe, well, so's another, right? So in other words, it's not egocentric about me. It's about my identity. Well, each others have. So if you're not Jewish, for example, and you have a sense of um, strong identity that that I'm a servant of God, right? Well, so someone else, right? So that's coming from a good place. That's coming from a good place, right? That's coming from the second month of where we've taken, where we can have the chametz, we can have the fermented, right? The rising of the dough. We don't have to run away from evil because we can take that negativity that's inherently negative because and we've transformed it and made it into an ego, a divine form of ego, not egocentric. Maybe you could call it even egocentric in the sense it's your identity, but it's not in the sense that I become better than you. Well, it's not, I'm not becoming better than you. No, that's coming from the animal soul. I am just identifying with my higher self, my greater self, right? So that's transformative. Now, Pesach Sheni is in the middle of counting of the Omer, which means that the days that I counted, there's been something transformative. The days to count have not yet been transformative. Right? Now, what is the reason that there's a quality that I have that is transformative, right? And a quality that's not, that is bending? Why is there the capacity in one to transform and the other not to transform? Well, we've explained the idea, but didn't explain the mechanics of why it is that way. Where's the power to be transformative come from? Where's the power to just bend come from? So it's interesting. It's sort of like a kind of a paradox. Going out of Egypt, we say is iskafia, right? Bending. And the sphere of Seimer, counting the Aimer, is transformative. So why? Because going out of Egypt, who did this? I mean, we went out, but it's really because God showed. He put on a routine for us. Ooh, there were a bunch of plagues, right? finale with the death of the firstborn Egyptian, the Jewish firstborn being saved. Like, I mean, it was a pretty huge heavenly, ordeal. And we should say um, a heavenly show broadcasted not by divine angels, but by God himself who took us up. Right. Which shows very little on our engagement and our effort. Yes, we had to, it's almost like, you go to the movies, you're just a passive audience, non-participant. You're just watching the show. In a sense, that's what happened going out of Egypt, except, of course, we were part of the show because we went out of Egypt. But it's because the revelation of godliness was so powerful, was so awesome. It didn't leave me much to do, but just, go out of Egypt. But that was all predicated on heaven, and therefore was not internalized. It didn't become me. And because it didn't become me, it's not transformative. Month of year, on the other hand, counting the Omer. Yes, it's a mitzvah to count the Omer, but guess who has to do it from beginning to end? Who has to remember every night to make a bracha, to say the day, and to say the Hiratzain and to think about and focus in on what is being transformative. Me, myself, and I. And you. We got to do it from beginning to end. It's totally our thing. So it's something that's internalized. It's something you think about, you meditate on, you verbalize it. Right. And therefore it's internalized and a part of you, and therefore transformative. Something is internalized, it's transformative. Now here's the paradox. Going out of Egypt, it was God, and so the revelation was greater. But it was so great that it wasn't permeated, it didn't penetrate us. That's why, parenthetically, why 40 days later they could do a sin of the golden calf. Sir Saimer, on the other hand, is a much lesser light. Right? It's a chodesh iyar, and shines a ray of light. It's only a ray of light. It's not like the infinite light of God. It's a ray, limited light, but that light is internalized and becomes me, and therefore transformative. So it's lesser, but because it becomes something I can internalize, it becomes something that is transformative. That's a very powerful paradox. Okay, let's stop there. To be continued. Thank you, folks. Thank you for joining.